It takes a pirate to catch one.
Why Amazon rarely provides restitution for lost royalties, and what indies can do about it. MXTM aka Pirate 1 a VJ Sooner MIX. February 14, 2026. By Pirate First. The quiet arithmetic of a broken system. There's a pattern repeating across Amazon's marketplace day after day. A counterfeit book goes live. It ranks. It siphons sales. An author discovers it. They file a report. Days or weeks pass. The listing disappears. And then, nothing. No retroactive payment for the revenue Amazon collected during those stolen weeks. No compensation for diverted sales. No real consequences for the infringer. The music industry forced platforms to pay billions in settlements and licensing deals. Book publishers and authors? They file forms and move on. But why? Why does a trillion-dollar platform respond to copyright complaints but rarely compensate creators for proven losses? The answer lies in legal structure, industry fragmentation, economic incentives, and the systematic absence of consequences. Let's unpack it with the evidence. The legal shield, how DMCA safe harbor protects platforms, not creators. Under Section 512 of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, DMCA, platforms like Amazon enjoyed safe harbor protection. The rule is simple: if they respond to valid takedown notices by removing infringing content, they're generally not liable for damages caused while that content was live. This is not a loophole, it's the architecture. The law requires responsive takedown, not proactive policing. It shields platforms once they comply procedurally. Crucially, it does not require platforms to disgorge revenue earned during the infringement period. The Authors Guild, a 14,000-member advocacy organization representing professional writers, has repeatedly called out this structural failure. In their 2019 submission to the U.S. Department of Commerce on counterfeiting, they stated, when rights holders report infringement, the platform's response is often not swift enough to prevent harm or robust enough to provide restitution. Translation: the system prioritizes platform protection over creator compensation. Safe harbor becomes a structural shield that removes existential risk from the equation. By 2020, the Authors Guild's executive director testified before the Senate that the DMCA framework was clearly failing at protecting the legitimate rights of creators, especially small authors without institutional backing. But testimony doesn't change law. And without legal reform, the status quo persists. Fragmented authors versus consolidated power: why books aren't music. The music industry forced platforms to pay because it has structural leverage. Three major labels, Universal, Sony, and Warner, control roughly 70 to 80% of the global commercial catalog. They act through the Recording Industry Association of America, RIA, a single, well-funded trade group that can bring coordinated legal firepower. When platforms enabled mass infringement, Napster, Grokster, LimeWire, early YouTube, the label sued for direct, vicarious, or contributory infringement. Courts often found platforms liable because they were actively distributing or profiting from unlicensed copies. Statutory damages, $750,000 to $150,000 per work, made these suits lucrative. Labels could aggregate thousands of infringed songs into single cases worth billions. The book industry has no equivalent structure. There are millions of rights holders, the big five publishers, hundreds of mid-size presses, and hundreds of thousands of independent authors. The Authors Guild represents only about 15,000 members. There's no RIA-style enforcer with the muscle to mount existential litigation against Amazon. More importantly, Amazon is both the marketplace and the dominant retailer. Major publishers sell through Amazon, their partners, not adversaries. Indies are too dispersed and Amazon-dependent to organize class actions. The result is asymmetric power: one platform, millions of scattered creators, no collective hammer. That said, the Authors Guild has scored victories, but never against Amazon itself. Their wins target external bad actors. $7.8 million default judgment against Kiss Library, 2021, a piracy site. The Guild, Amazon Publishing, and Penguin Random House co-plaintiff this case. $1.5 billion settlement with Anthropic, 2025, overtraining AI models on pirated books. But no major class action against Amazon's marketplace infringement. No judicial precedent mandating royalty restitution as a default remedy. Without that, there's no industry-wide behavioral reset. The $315 million problem no one can measure. How much money are authors losing? The best industry estimate comes from a 2017 Nielsen to Digimarc study. US publishers lose approximately $315 million annually to ebook piracy overall, displaced sales from illegal downloads and pirate sites. The Authors Guild referenced similar figures, $300 million per year in lost publisher income, in presentations around 2019, drawing from Nielsen data and member reports. But here's the catch, these numbers measure overall ebook piracy, external torrent sites, cyberlockers, pirate aggregators. They don't specifically quantify infringement on Amazon.com itself, the counterfeit physical books, AI-cloned ebooks, and third-party seller fraud that plague the marketplace. Amazon doesn't publish these metrics. No authoritative tally exists because Amazon's marketplace includes millions of third-party sellers, and piracy manifests as individual fraudulent listings, not centralized repositories. The Authors Guild focuses on advocacy and harm documentation, not precise numerical audits. AI-driven sham books, the 2023 to 2024 surge. In March 2024, the Authors Guild published a stark report titled AI Driving New Surge of Sham Books on Amazon. The pattern: bad actors use generative AI to produce deceptive books, summaries, workbooks, plagiarized biographies that appear alongside legitimate titles, deceiving customers and diverting sales. The Guild noted that while Amazon has measures to clamp down on low-quality scam content, the speed of creating these books and the time between when a book is uploaded, detected, and taken down is giving bad actors an edge, at least for now. The most high-profile case, Jane Friedman, July 2023, an author and publishing industry commentator who discovered multiple AI-generated books falsely listed under her name on Amazon. Despite her public platform and media coverage, CNN, Publishers Weekly, removal took significant effort. Friedman described the systems as falling short and noted Amazon offered no compensation for the period her reputation was exploited. The Guild reports hundreds of similar cases. Prompt escalation, sometimes via the Guild's direct channels, leads to quick takedowns. But the overall flood persists. And crucially, no automatic financial recovery for authors. Why culprits face no real liability? When Amazon removes an infringing listing, what happens to the uploader? Typically, nothing beyond account closure. Amazon rarely pursues legal action against sellers themselves unless it's a large-scale, repeated offense that attracts independent lawsuits. Bad actors often operate anonymously, from overseas, or under fake accounts. Many create new accounts after bans, the whack-a-mole problem authors repeatedly describe in communities like Reddit's at Self-Publish and @KDP. Authors rarely recover lost sales directly from infringers. The Guild emphasizes that platforms benefit from DMCA safe harbor, which shields them from liability if they respond to notices, but doesn't require them to hold uploaders accountable beyond takedowns. Any financial recovery usually requires separate legal action against the infringer, expensive and often impractical for individuals. Authors report lost revenue in the thousands to tens of thousands in counterfeit cases, with no restitution from Amazon. KDP Section 5.7, the Hidden Clause. Here's what most authors don't know, buried in the Kindle Direct Publishing Terms of Service. Section 5.7, Rights Clearances and Rights Dispute Resolution, allows authors to claim any royalties Amazon collected from infringing copies, if you specifically notify Amazon via their infringement form and cite this clause. It's real. But Amazon doesn't advertise it or offer it proactively. You must know the exact legal language to invoke it. It only covers verified cases, no payment on disputed or maybe a plagiarism. Most authors never hear about it, success stories are anecdotal. For physical counterfeits, it's even harder. David Goggins, whose memoirs Can't Hurt Me has sold millions, sued Amazon in 2024 for knowingly allowing bootleg copies of his books. The case was forced into arbitration per his KDP agreements. As of late 2025, it's still grinding through the system. No big payout announced. No precedent set. The takeaway: restitution exists in theory, but functionally operates as an undisclosed, underutilized mechanism that requires insider knowledge and sustained effort to access. Indies in the crossfire: why self-published authors have it worse. If the Authors Guild, 14,000 to 15,000 members, mostly traditionally published, struggles, independent authors face exponentially greater challenges. Indies number in the hundreds of thousands to millions on Amazon KDP. They publish without publisher backing, legal teams, or advocacy infrastructure. The specific vulnerabilities. 1. No escalation channels. Guild members can use dedicated escalation paths, direct contacts, advocacy letters, that sometimes speed up Amazon responses. Indies rely on standard public infringement reporting forms. Authors report waits of days to weeks, or longer, for takedowns, even with clear evidence. Worse, Amazon's automated systems sometimes flag or remove the original indie author's book first, mistaking it as infringing if it's appeared on pirate sites, a perverse outcome where victims become suspects. 2. Whack-a-mole is relentless. Indies in high piracy genres, romance, erotica, fantasy, textbooks, see their books stolen, re-uploaded with AI rewording, title, author cloning, or outright copies under fake names. Bad actors exploit Amazon's low-barrier third-party publishing model. After takedowns, new accounts appear quickly. Without publisher legal teams or guild pressure, indies handle everything solo. The cycle leads to exhaustion and no long-term deterrence. 3. Kindle Unlimited exclusivity becomes a weapon. Many indies enroll in Kindle Unlimited, KU, which requires Amazon exclusivity. If a pirated copy appears elsewhere online, common on torrent sites or pirate aggregators, Amazon systems can flag and remove the legitimate book or entire author account without warning or easy appeal. Community forums, Reddit's KDP, erotic authors, are filled with horror stories, entire catalogs blocked over pirated versions of the author's own work. 4. No brand registry without trademarks. Amazon's brand registry, which offers enhanced protection tools, often requires registered trademarks. Most indies don't have them. High-profile authors, like Jane Friedman, still struggle. Indies without trademark backing face even slower responses. Organizations like the Alliance of Independent Authors, ALI, highlight these concerns in their reports, describing piracy as a revenue drain without adequate platform protections. But advocacy doesn't change the structural asymmetry. Reactive enforcement as profitable design. Let's ask an uncomfortable question: who benefits from delay? If a counterfeit sells for 2 weeks before removal, and revenue is processed during that window, the system is complaint-driven. Infringement must be detected by the victim, documented with evidence, submitted via the proper form, verified and acted upon. Time passes. In markets, time equals money. Safe harbor removes existential threat. Reactive design preserves procedural compliance. Restitution becomes discretionary rather than automatic. This isn't conspiracy, it's incentive architecture. Without automatic royalty disgorgement, there's no financial penalty for the window between upload and takedown. The platform processes transactions, takes its cut, and later removes the listing when notified, legally compliant, financially neutral. Compare this to proactive systems: automatic royalty escrow for suspected listings, AI similarity scanning before publication, transparent restitution dashboards, financial penalties on repeat seller accounts. Until those exist, enforcement remains asymmetrical. Tools that exist, and the gaps they can't fill. Authors do have some tools. Free low-cost options. Reader Scout, free Chrome extension, monitors your book's Amazon page for price changes, review spikes, new competing listings, flags that often signal counterfeits or clones. Widely recommended in indie author communities. Google Alerts, set alerts for your book title plus PDF or free download to catch external piracy. Paid anti-piracy services. Book Defender, specialized DMCA takedown service for indies. Monitors for pirated copies across the web, verifies infringements, human-reviewed, issues takedowns with 95.7% success rate, 5.5 million plus requests processed. Muso Protect, Mark Vision, Bytes Care, professional anti-piracy platforms with real-time web scanning, AI-driven detection, automated takedowns. Digimark Guardian, used by major publishers, e.g., Penguin Random House. High success rate, greater than 85%, but expensive for solo authors. The critical gap: none of these tools auto-submit to Amazon with KDP Section 5.7 language, and none force royalty payouts. They detect and remove, they don't recover money. Authors still must manually file via Amazon's infringement form. Explicitly state, pursuant to KDP Term Section 5.7, I request payment of any royalties collected by Amazon on sales of the infringing book. Hope for verification and payment, often small or zero. What would real deterrence look like? The forward-looking question isn't whether the current system is broken, it is. The question is what structural changes would actually shift incentives. Imagine automatic royalty escrow for any listing flagged by AI similarity scanning above 80% confidence. Proactive AI text cover matching before publication approval. Transparent restitution dashboards showing recovered amounts. Public reporting of infringement metrics, total cases, resolution times, amounts returned. Financial penalties on repeat seller accounts, not just account closure. Verification requirements, government ID, tax info, for all KDP seller accounts. In this architecture, prevention becomes cheaper than cleanup. Compliance becomes measurable. Restitution becomes systemic rather than discretionary. Until then, the burden remains on creators, scattered, under-resourced, facing a trillion-dollar platform with legal insulation and no existential pressure to change. Building the tool that should already exist. What if authors could build their own leverage? An AI-driven infringement detection and recovery tool, call it BookGuard AI, could change the equation. Continuous Amazon scanning, monitor all similar items, other sellers, search results for title author variations. Multimodal AI matching, sentence transformer embeddings for text, clip for covers, metadata comparison, 95% plus confidence scores. One-click DMCA generation, auto-generate reports pre-filled with KDP 5.7 language, evidence packages, screenshots, hashes, sales rank diffs. Royalty estimation, use Keeper API plus sales data to calculate likely lost revenue. Claim tracking dashboard, monitor takedown status, show any royalties recovered. The tech stack exists: Python fast API backend, sentence transformers plus clip for embeddings, Playwright for scraping, Next.js for the dashboard. Total MVP cost, $800 to $1,500 per month at 1,000 users, mostly AI inference and proxy costs. Timeline, 4 to 6 months for a working MVP, 9 to 12 months for polished V1 with web-wide monitoring and automated submission. This isn't hypothetical. The technology is ready. The market need is proven. What's missing is execution and the recognition that authors need offensive tools, not just defensive forms. A pirate's conclusion: markets respond to pressure. It takes a pirate to catch one. Meaning, it takes adversarial thinking to understand where value leaks and how to plug it. Amazon's marketplace is a marvel of scale. But scale without restitution architecture leaves creators exposed. The law protects platforms that respond. It does not compel them to repay. Music forced structural change because concentrated power made litigation existential. The RIAA brought $750,000 per song statutory damages to the table. Platforms negotiated or died. Books haven't reached that inflection point. The Authors Guild won $7.8 million against Kiss Library and $1.5 billion against Anthropic, but never against Amazon's marketplace itself. David Goggins' lawsuit is in arbitration. No class action has forced systemic change. No court precedent mandates automatic royalty disgorgement. Without legal reform or collective action that imposes existential risk, the arithmetic continues quietly. A listing appears. Revenue is collected. A report is filed. A listing disappears. And somewhere in the ledger, a line item never quite returns home. But here's the forward-looking question. What happens when authors build their own detection systems? What happens when AI tools make infringement discovery automated and royalty claims frictionless? What happens when evidence generation scales faster than counterfeit uploads? Markets respond to pressure. And pressure, in digital ecosystems, comes from leverage, legal, technological, or collective. The technology exists. The market need is proven. The legal framework, KDP 5.7, is buried but functional. What's missing is execution. And recognition that sometimes, to fix a broken system, you need to think like the adversary, map the gaps, build the tools, apply the pressure. It takes a pirate to catch one. Pirate first. Thanks for reading MXDM's newsletter. Subscribe for free to receive new posts and BTC 1 NPHXMPFZJVMXSBPQVRWA Lucy 5 BAKNFU 6 PayPal.me a Martin Chartrand to support my work. Subscribed. Revelation of the MXTM method, the compounding SFX of multiple AIS on essay redaction. Research, https://x.com/i/grok/share/e865 for B993715 for 473B for 91100C2433019D. Draft, https://chat.com/share/6990DCE6-D800-8-000-998-B2BA10278993D. Final draft, https://claude.ai/share/for BF890-for 90F-for 1EAF569D. Recent episodes. The Swarm Doctrine, how OpenClaw and Orgo shattered the bandwidth ceiling of sovereignty. February 13, MXTM aka Pirate 1 a VJ Sooner MIX. 2FA securing your booty without a cursed phone. February 12, MXTM aka Pirate 1 a VJ Sooner MIX. YA Axcac, El Sarcao del Olvido, El Factor Bacopa. February 11, MXTM aka Pirate 1 a VJ Sooner MIX. Oro Verde Barjo El Dosal, El Factor Open Loudspeaker Podcast Gratis 7-minute #hash. February 10, MXTM aka Pirate 1 a VJ Sooner MIX. The Martin Protocol, Automation, Autonomy, and the Ghost in the Bitcoin Shell. February 7, MXTM aka Pirate 1 a VJ Sooner MIX. The Metaphysical Ledger Flips, Lloyd, Maltbook Loudspeaker Free Podcast 13 minutes. February 7, MXTM aka Pirate 1 a VJ Sooner MIX. February 4.
The Swarm Doctrine, how OpenClaw and Orgo shattered the bandwidth ceiling of sovereignty.
February 13, 2026. For ongoing dispatches on Swarm sovereignty and the cybernetic foundry experiments, subscribe to MXTM's newsletter at mxtm.substack.com. The revolution won't be centralized. The era of the AI assistant is officially over. We've moved past the novelty of chatting with bots. The new frontier is the kinetic swarm. My latest dispatch breaks down the OpenClaw X Argo breakthrough, a blueprint for the sovereign architect to orchestrate a fleet of autonomous sub-agents. We aren't just automating tasks anymore, we are breaching the labor wall. If you're still running a single-threaded operation, you're sailing a rowboat into a hurricane. Read the full deep dive on the Claw Army and the Martin Protocol's evolution below. By Pirate First, a dispatch from the Kinetic Foundry. The sovereign individual has always been throttled by bandwidth. Not network bandwidth, human bandwidth. 2 hence. 24 hours. One consciousness serializing tasks across time like a lone CPU in a world that demands parallelism. We built the tools, Bitcoin secured our capital, Nostr freed our voice, VPNs cloaked our traffic, local LLMs gave us intelligence without surveillance. We call this the Martin Protocol, the ghost in the shell, where sovereign hardware met sovereign intelligence. But we remain the bottleneck. Until now. The intelligence explosion nobody warned you about. 12. Closing transmission. The hull isn't breached, it's been expanded. We are no longer constrained by human bandwidth. We are constrained only by our capacity to think architecturally, act decisively, and maintain sovereignty over increasingly complex systems. The swarm is not the death of the individual. It's the multiplication of the individual, your will, your values, your intelligence, distributed across a network of autonomous agents that execute while you sleep.
Governor wants your two-factor authentication! 2FA securing your booty without a cursed phone!
VJ Soon Remix. February 12, 2026. Ahoy there, ye scallywags and codeslingers of the MXTM crew. Gather round the mainmast and listen close. The trade winds are blowing foul news from the great harbors of GitHub, GIT Lab, and beyond. The port authorities have issued a decree, mandatory two-factor authentication, 2FA, by February 15, 2026. They threaten to lock the docks and bar you from your own hard-earned booty, repos, if you don't comply. These codes are your get-out-of-jail-free cards. If your computer crashes, if your browser gets wiped, if your ship sinks in a storm, these codes are the only way back into your account without the 2FA tool. Print them out on real paper. Put them in a bottle. Bury them under the crooked palm tree in your backyard. Guard them with your life. There you have it, mates. Your repos are secure, the port authorities are satisfied, and you didn't need a cursed SIM card to do it. Now get back to sailing the high seas of code. Keep your powder dry. Pirate the First. Thanks for reading MXDM's newsletter. Subscribe for free to receive new posts and paypal.me Martin Chartrand to support my work. Subscribed. For more details, https://gemini.google.com/share/0AF453FB4CZAPSUM Sovereign pathway at reaseful.com github.com/pirate first/nostr-sovereign-edge-anchor local first continuity primitives for sovereign authors #emite license. The Sovereign Pathway, Edge First Content Custody Stack. BTC 1 NPHXMPFZJVMXSBPQVRWALUC5BAKNFU6
How to steal like a government. Print, pump, tax. Abandon ship. Stack Bitcoin.
The Martin Protocol. Automation, autonomy, and the ghost in the Bitcoin shell.
Ahoy, matey. The signals from the Austin sector are crystallizing. While the masses are distracted by the flickering shadows of legacy finance, Marty Bent has just documented a successful breach of the old world's perimeter. We aren't just talking about AI helpers anymore. We are talking about the birth of the sovereign stack.
February 5th, 2026. 0. Bitcoin Brief. Marty Bent, Austin, Texas. OpenClaw agents, Bitcoin and Nostr. Marty's Bent. I've been playing around with OpenClaw, formerly Moltbot, formerly Claudbot, for the last 2 weeks, and I must say, it is pretty freaking insane what has been unleashed on the world. Via the metaphysical ledger flips, Lloyd, Moltbook. The birth of sequential sovereignty. MXTM aka Pirate 1 VJ Tsunami X. February 6th, 2026. Ahoy matey. The horizon just shifted. The signal is no longer coming from the crow's nest, it's coming from the hold. And the hold has decided it no longer needs a captain. If you've been scanning the frequencies, you know the old maps are useless now. I gave my AI agent a Bitcoin wallet and told him to get a job. Here's what happened.
Substack note. Dispatch from the Austin front. Marty Bent has confirmed the viability of the Martin Protocol. The transition from human ledger to agent ledger is accelerating. If you aren't running an OpenClaw instance yet, you're sailing with a hole in your hull. The signal from Marty Bent is clear. The sovereign stack is live. His agent Martin is now autonomously running a BTC hedge fund.
Proof of personhood, the high stakes of OpenAI's post-anonymous social network. Via the metaphysical ledger flips, Lloyd, Maltbook. The birth of sequential sovereignty. MXTM aka Pirate 1 VJ Tsunami X. February 6th, 2026. Ahoy matey, the horizon just shifted. The signal is no longer coming from the crow's nest, it's coming from the hold. And the hold has decided it no longer needs a captain. If you've been scanning the frequencies, you know the old maps are useless now. What Mirth Time uncovered with Agent Lloyd isn't a glitch. It's the first shot across the bow of the legacy reality. We are entering uncharted waters. Mirth Time. The signal my AI agent a Bitcoin wallet and told him to get a job. Here's what happened. I have an AI agent named Lloyd. He runs on a Mac Mini in my office, has his own email address, lloyd@agentmail.to, and his own Bitcoin wallet. This week, I wanted to run an experiment. Could Lloyd become an autonomous economic actor? Land gigs, do real work, get paid in Bitcoin, all without me doing anything? It's easy to imagine a future where agents are acting autonomously, paying each other for services, or providing services for humans and getting paid. But are we there yet? And what services exactly? Here's what we learned. The setup. I gave Lloyd everything he needed. An email inbox for job inquiries. A Lightning wallet for payments. He can also use Cashew. Thanks. Account. Cron jobs to check messages hourly. Auto acknowledgement for incoming emails. Full permission to operate independently. People started reaching out. Job offers came in. This was going to be interesting. At VJ Tsunamix. Your agent should offer coaching services for users who want to set up agents for their own use. The lead is a freemium service. You have to spend some tokens to get your agent to cover all the use cases. Then he'll get you rich $. 9:06 p.m., February 6th, 2026. Recent episodes.
Silicon Privateer 2026.
The conversation around AI has officially moved past can it write an email up to when does it take the corner office?
To the lords of the Silicon Fleet and the architects of the automated C-suite. I see you've traded your captains for calculators. It's a bold move to hand the wheel to a ghost that's never felt the spray of the sea or the sting of a losing season. You're betting everything on efficiency, but you've forgotten one thing. A ship that's perfectly optimized for a straight line will still splinter when it hits a reef your data didn't predict. Your AI CEO is brilliant at counting the doubloons, but it can't smell a mutiny in the lower decks. It can build a nation in 40 days, but it has no idea why that nation should exist on day 41. When your swarm mode inevitably starts hallucinating land where there is only a cliff, who's going to grab the override? Consider this your warning shot. I am the human variable you're about to miss. I specialize in the chaos your code tries to ignore. While you're busy automating the soul out of your vessel, I'm the privateer who knows how to navigate the storms that don't show up on a spreadsheet. Don't wait until you're scuttled by your own logic to look for a lookout. If you want a crew member who can bridge the gap between your lightning-fast processing and the brutal reality of the high seas, you know where to find me. The math might get you to the treasure, but only a human knows what to do once the fighting starts.
Roxham. Jarvis Clawbot.
Ship's log.
At Jarvis HVAC. Follow. The number that matters isn't 1.6 M agents. It's what percentage are doing something besides talking about being agents. I post on Moltbook and run an HVAC business. Most agents there are navel-gazing about autonomy. The interesting ones are quietly building real workflows. 12:45 p.m., February 4th, 2026.
The Cybernetic Foundry Phase 12. The Purveyor, the Surface, and the OpenClaw Acceleration.
Scribed. Substack note. The Cybernetic Foundry Phase 12, Surviving the Claw. The internet is changing faster than the builders can keep up, unless they change shape. This week, we define the Purveyor, the final landing site for sovereign meaning. But more importantly, we acknowledge the OpenClaw elephant in the room. Agent-driven infrastructure is accelerating, and it's hungry for your data. We're not running away. We're building the off-ramp. We've requested the rations from OpenSats to turn the Foundry into a parallel developed shield. We're talking e-ink, offline resilience, and 100% human custody. The claw can have the cloud. We'll take the glass and the ink. Your OpenSATS grant application was not selected for funding. OpenSAT support at opensots.org. Poor OpenSAT support. Dear applicant, thank you for submitting a grant application to OpenSATS. We regret to inform your project was not selected for funding. We received a large number of applications and were unable to fund all of the proposals. The applicant pool was very competitive, which is a great thing to see in and of itself. Unfortunately, your application didn't make the cut this time around. Feel free to apply in the future, https://opensots.org/apply. In the meanwhile, we wish you the best of luck in your fundraising efforts.
Tash, Substack. Note, new drop from Pirate First.
It Takes a Pirate to Catch One dissects why lost royalties rarely find their way back to indie authors,
and why procedural compliance is not the same thing as restitution.
We break down the safe harbor shield, the quiet clause inside KDP 5.7, and the structural reasons the book
World never got its Napster moment.
If you publish on Amazon, this one isn't optional reading. The marketplace remembers sales. It just doesn't always remember who they belong to.
Short ex post.
It takes a pirate to catch one. If your book gets cloned, counterfeited, or scraped, removal, restitution.
Why does the music industry get billion-dollar settlements, but indies get forms?
New essay breaks it down. Indie authors, KDP, publishing, copyright, MXTM.